Hello everyone and welcome back to our Empty Nest Adventures. Well, we're back cruising the high seas and today we're going to take you along with us on a 17-night Trans-Pacific repositioning cruise. We're going to show you the food and the fun, we're going to show you the ship, and we have an amazing time reuniting with some of our Ultimate World Cruise friends. But not everything went exactly perfect. We had everything from bugs in our room to a shower that didn't work to other issues. We're going to show you how we resolve those issues and ask you as we go through, what do you think about it?
Well, would 14 days at sea drive you crazy with nothing to do, or would it be your dream vacation? Come and find out how it was with us. Welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And today we're living that full life cruising across the middle of the Pacific Ocean in a Trans-Pacific repositioning cruise.
We are friends. It's 17 nights. We're going from Tokyo to Los Angeles, and we thought it was a great deal. For our extended balcony room, we got it for about $1,200 a person, and then we got our flight for only about $500 to Tokyo. So we thought we had a great deal going. And by the way, you can go back and see our flight. We got upgraded to Delta One. So go back and take a look at that video while you're at it. So we did fly over about a week before the cruise actually left. We spent 3 days touring around Tokyo and then another 3 days at Tokyo Disney and DisneySea. So we have videos on those. Be sure to go back and take a look at them because we had an amazing time. We had so much fun, great food, and yeah, you just won't want to miss those things.
Yeah, and you actually had one of your favorite, we'll call it museum experiences ever. So be sure to go back and take a look because Nancy was just glowing with this particular experience. And I found we had one of the best food experiences too. So there's a couple there you may want to go see. And you really, even if you're not Disney fans, go take a look at Tokyo Disneyland and DisneySea. Those parks are just absolutely stunning.
They're not to be missed, friends.
Well, let's give you an overview of the cruise. It's 17 nights total. We have 2 port stops, one in Shimizu, which is the closest port to Mount Fuji, and we'll tell you about that a little bit later. And the second one was Osaka, which we're super excited because we get to overnight. And Osaka is a wonderful city at night. It's one of our absolute favorite cities in the world. The food, the sights, it's just amazing.
Osaka's going to have its own video,
yes.
So stay tuned for that.
Right, it's way too much to put in this one because frankly it'd make this video 2 or 3 hours long. So we'll show you Osaka in the next video so that you can see that.
But let's get on to our day 1 boarding experience here. We've stayed the night in the Tokyo Disney Resort, the Miracosta, and we have our same taxi driver who's been helping us throughout Japan. He's meeting us and one other couple and getting us transferred to the cruise. Now, it's about a 40-minute drive, and as we're driving along, our friend has been having a tooth issue, and she's a little nervous about getting on board the ship here for 17 nights and having a problem with her tooth. And she's been looking up dentists who speak English in Japan and had found one that was close to the cruise port. But our taxi driver, who we've told you in previous videos just how kind he is, even though she was speaking in English to the dentist, he took over and would speak in Japanese, helped her to get an appointment immediately, and got them all set. It was close to the port. So it ended up, he dropped them off at the dentist, and he took us, our luggage, and their luggage. We all got to the cruise port. We helped get their luggage on board the ship as well.
Checked it in with the porters.
Yeah, checked in. And then he went back and he picked them up at the dentist. Again, they were pretty close to the cruise port, and just helped them with every step along the way. Now, that said, her tooth is all fixed and everything as well, but just so kind, just went above and beyond. In fact, they offered him additional money and he refused it. He absolutely refused it. So that's just the kind of culture and experience that you're going to get in Japan.
Yeah, so what had happened, when we arranged for him to pick us up in the morning, he actually overestimated the amount of time it would take because he was worried about traffic. And so he thought it would maybe take an hour and a half. It really, as Nancy said, only took 40 minutes. And he booked the whole morning. And in fact, he rented a van because normally he's in a normal taxi. He rented a van and he set everything up for us. And so in his mind, we had him for the morning until like noon. And so he's telling us, oh, if you got time before your ship goes, we can go see some sights or do. And he was just so wonderful. He's like, no, he's like, you booked me for the morning. This is what I agreed to pay-wise. You're good to go. Yeah. And man, I just, you get that kind of response from somebody. It's just amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
And there's good people all around the world.
Yeah.
You hear so much about the bad people or the challenges throughout the world, and yet there's so many good people all around.
Well, as Nancy said, the taxi driver did drop us off at the port with our luggage. We checked it into the porters. We actually ended up, because of the low traffic and even with dropping our friend off at the dentist, we got there pretty early, in fact, before boarding even started, but we weren't the first ones there. There were quite a few people there. So we went into the staging area. Now the port is rather industrial here at this particular one, but it's functional, it works. Now there are 2 ports here in Yokohama. So even though we keep saying we're in Tokyo, we're actually out in Yokohama where most cruise ships go. There is a small cruise ship port in Tokyo, but it's really only for really smaller ships. And when we were here on Serenade, we were able to dock over on the other side of Yokohama. And it is a beautiful port. It's all made of wood and it's very modern. But the problem is a large ship like Ovation can't get under the bridge. So this port is right on the other side of the bridge. The other Yokohama port is under the bridge and across the river. So just be aware, if you're going into Yokohama, you want to know which port you're at, because originally we thought we were going to be at the other one, but fortunately we really dug into it and understood we were at the more industrial port before the bridge on the ocean side. Well, we went in, we waited, and honestly we only waited about 40 minutes. They started moving people through, and from the time they started moving people to the time we got on the ship was maybe 20 minutes. Super efficient. Went right on, and we are on board a cruise ship again.
Right, and we also got a call then from our friends. Their tooth was fixed, and they were on their way to the ship. So all went well.
All went perfect.
So the first thing we did once we boarded was we went straight to the main dining room. Now, there is a group of 8 of us that we were close friends. We were all at the same dining table on the World Cruise, and we want to make sure that we're all together at the same dining room, on the same dining table on this cruise. So we went straight to the main dining room where they were able to make those accommodations. We had their reservation numbers and they put us all together. So that worked out very smoothly. From there, then we went to our room and got unpacked and settled in.
Yeah, so why don't we show you our room, give you a little tour of it here.
Hi friends, we are on Ovation of the Seas. Now we've got a balcony room. This is, it's a little bigger than a standard balcony. It's kind of where the bump out is. Can you see here in the halls that we've got this little bump out bit? And so we actually even have a larger balcony inside. We've already been in here once, but come take a look. Ready? This feels much bigger than when we were on the World Cruise here. It's much longer. So take a step inside. We've got the bathroom is right here off to the right, and it's kind of at an angle on a corner here. The shower's a decent size. The shower, this is definitely a bigger bathroom than we had on the World Cruise. Now, the one thing that they've done here, which is really nice, is you have a lot more storage. Our closet is so much bigger. There's actually 2 closets, one on each side of the bed. And in addition to the closets, you've got storage overhead as well, so that you can store a lot of things. Again, there's storage under the bed too, so you can put your suitcases there. On the other side of the bed here, you've got a couple of drawers as well. So really, this is going to hold quite a little bit. You keep coming on through here. We've got a full-size couch, whereas on the World Cruise, we had just kind of a little love seat here. Right across from it, we've got a desk. Get the TV over the bed. Here's a refrigerator. See, it's a little cool. I don't know if it gets as cold as a real refrigerator, if it's just kind of a cooling unit. But anyway, I'm very happy with the amount of storage that's in here. There's quite a bit. Look at all the water. So Mike had ordered 24 waters, and we were thinking they would be this size of water. We get these just for being Diamond Plus now at this point. But no, the 24 waters are the big size, so we're gonna have plenty of water. We can share some with our friends who are on board if they need some. We got some San Pellegrino, but take a look at our balcony, how good size this is. I mean, there's room in these chairs. They've got footrests. They actually recline back. So this is a nice balcony. It's huge. Too bad we didn't have a room this big on the World Cruise for 9 months. So friends, this is the room tour here.
Well, we really like the room. It's a beautiful room. We love the rooms on the Quantum class ships. Tons of storage, more than we really even needed for a 17-night cruise. But here's where we started having issues. So we got all unpacked, everything's there, and I'm setting a few things up on the nightstand by the bed, and there's ants on the nightstand. They're crawling around, and it's not just one ant. I mean, there's several ants there, and we even see them kind of on the wall, and
they're just little sugar ants.
Yes,
so those
yes.
little tiny.
These aren't fire ants or big
No.
black ants. They're just little, what we call, at least in the Midwest, sugar ants, real small ones, but they're ants.
Yeah.
And so we immediately call guest services and maintenance, actually, and we say, listen, we got ants in the room. And they said, okay, well, we're going to send they actually have I thought they said a horticulture specialist, like a plant specialist, but anyway, they have a specialist that deals with pests and things like that. They sent him up, they looked at it, and they said they were going to treat for the ants. So we left the room. We went off and had, I think we went off and had a drink with our friends, because now it's in the afternoon. And we got back, and you could tell they'd kind of moved a few things around. So they used this bio-friendly gel stuff, and they said they put it around baseboards and things. And they said, let them know if there's any more ants. And so we said, okay. Well, 2 days later, the ants are back. And there's several of them crawling on the nightstand and the wall. So we call them again. In fact, the first time, the head of housekeeping gave me his direct line and said, call me directly if you have any issues.
That was nice.
Yeah, so we did call him. Boom, right away. They brought the specialist back up. They looked to treat again. And at this time he said, listen, he goes, would you like to change rooms? Well, we're 2 days into the cruise. We've kind of settled in, and our room is fantastic. As you saw, we have an extended balcony, one of the pop-outs. We love the location of the room. It's very centrally located. So we didn't really want to move. And we told him, listen, we appreciate the offer right now. If you can get this fixed, we don't want to move. And so they treated again. And, they said, let us know if anything else happens. And about 2 days later, I saw an ant kind of crawling around on the wall, and I just kind of wiped it off and said, okay, let's just see what happens here. And fortunately after that, about 4 days into the cruise, we didn't see any more ants. So, we're Midwest people. We actually live out in the country. We deal with bugs and critters and all kinds of things all the time. So it didn't really bother us too much. We don't want ants in our room, don't get us wrong. But, it wasn't like we were up in arms about it. As long as Royal was responding, and they were responding right away, we were going to give them the opportunity to do the best they can. And frankly, after about 4 or 5 days on the cruise, we didn't see any more ants. Now that said, we asked them not to bring food to the room.
Yeah, because as being Diamond members, they'll bring cookies or they'll bring fruit and things like that. It's like, oh, let's just keep all the food out of the room.
Right.
But that wasn't our only problem.
It wasn't. No. So the next, actually the very first morning, so we, slept the night that very first morning. And to be honest, we stayed out kind of late with reminiscing with all our World Cruise friends. And so I'm sleeping in. Nancy doesn't sleep in. You're an early bird. And I'm laying there in bed, and I realize I kind of stir. Nancy gets up, and we're kind of used to this on the ship. And frankly, I was sleeping really good. We sleep excellent on cruise ships. And I hear her go in the bathroom, and I hear this just like trickle of water. I mean, I'm thinking she's got the faucet on really low, and and I'm thinking, oh, is she trying to be quiet so she doesn't disturb me? And I just hear this trickle of water, and I kind of sort of doze off again. And then after a while, she comes out, and then she goes out to get some coffee. And I kind of blow it off, and I doze a little bit. And then I get up, and I'm like, well, I want to get a shower. And so I go, and I turn the shower on, and now I understand there's no water in the shower. I don't know how you took a shower with that, but I did. I even kind of got in.
I took a shower, but a good thing, I didn't shampoo my hair.
Yeah.
So yeah, that wasn't happening.
So I went ahead and got dressed. I did call maintenance right away, told them what the issue was, and they sent somebody up to the room. They said somebody was on their way. I went ahead and left the room, went to meet Nancy for coffee, and we hung around the ship a little bit, came back to the room, and actually the maintenance guy was in the room when we came back, and he said, yep, shower's fixed, no problems. He actually said it was the shower hose, but anyway, he was just touching up a couple other things he found while he was in the room, and it was all fixed.
No, I just want to say that how speedy that was fixed, because what we thought could have potentially been a major problem. I mean, we didn't know obviously what was causing the slow drip in the shower, but we're thinking, this could be something a little more major. They had fixed in such a short period of time. They've got all the tools and all the spare parts that they need to fix these types of things.
Yeah, so we're real thankful for that.
Yes.
But that's not all. This is like the Ronco,
But wait, there's more.
Wait, there's more. So now, this actually happened on day one, is we're getting things organized and looking at we have kind of a system, obviously. We've been on cruise ships a lot. And we always put things like our tip money and our passports and all that in the safe. Now, for those that understand hotel safes or cruise ship safes, this is not high security here, right? I mean, I'm sure we'll see some comments, well, anybody can get in those safes. You're absolutely right. Your cabin steward can open that safe anytime they want. Anybody on the ship pretty much can open that safe. But for us, we use it more as an organizational tool. That way we know where these things are at. They don't get misplaced somewhere else or put in a piece of luggage, so that when we leave the ship, we know where our passports are. We can always open the safe real quick, grab some, a couple dollars to tip somebody if we want to. Those kind of things. Well, I go to put that stuff in the safe, and the safe won't lock. So, once again, we told our cabin attendant about it, and we actually mentioned it to the maintenance guy that came up to fix the shower, and he ran and got a couple batteries. That's all it was. The batteries were just dead, and they fixed that as well. So after the ants, the no water, and the issue with the safe, I think we got the room pretty well. So whoever has our room next, I think the room
should be really good for you.
Yeah, the room should be pretty well taken care of. I think this is where we just want to touch base on how we handle these, and actually ask for your opinion on how you would handle things like this. So for us, we kind of just take things in stride, right? We own our own business. We understand that sometimes we stub our toe. We try to excel at customer service. And I know Royal wants to give good customer service. And frankly, I think we found an issue, we called, they fixed it. We found an issue, we called, they fixed it.
Well, so Mike, why don't you let them know what was Royal's specific response to the issues that we had?
Right. So we never actually asked Royal for anything. And in fact, like we said, they offered us a new cabin, and we said, we don't want to move, But on the second to last day, I think, of the cruise, we got a call from the head of housekeeping. He asked, hey, how has things been in the room? We knew you had these issues. You know, did everything get resolved? And we told him, yeah, I mean, I told him, yeah, we found like one more ant on the 4th or 5th day, but we wiped it off and we haven't had any since then. And he once again profusely apologized. He said, listen, you know, this is not the service we want to provide. And they offered us a 10% future cruise credit off the base fare of this particular cruise. Didn't ask for it, just came out of the blue and offered it to us. No strings attached. Just, you know, they sent the certificates to our room. And now here's the funny part. We got such a great deal on this Trans-Pacific cruise that, you know, 10% off of a future cruise credit ended up being a total of about $200, you know? So, hey, I'm not turning my nose up at $200. I'm glad to get it. And we did apply that to our Alaska cruise, our reunion cruise for the Ultimate World Cruise. So we went ahead and applied it to that. So we're happy to get it. It was just kind of funny. 10% sounds like a lot. And it's like, yeah.
This was such a good deal.
Yeah, when it's this good a deal, it ends up not being that much money. But it was great that they offered it out of the blue. We thanked them.
Yes.
And overall, we had a good experience from then on.
Well, now that we've gotten past the bad stuff, let's get on with the cruise.
Kind of like we said in Tokyo, that bad fortune. Maybe that was our bad fortune. Get it out of here.
One of the first things they had on the cruise, like the day 1 and day 2, was they had a demonstration of their venue called 270. Now, 270 is one of the most technologically advanced entertainment venues at sea. I mean, there's these robot arms that come out and move, and there's screens, and so they gave demonstrations of how these screens all worked. And then later on in the cruise, they had actual entertainment shows that were in that venue that utilized that technology, and it really is advanced and a pretty cool thing to see.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's at the very back of the ship, and so during the day, all these big windows are open in the back, and then they pull it across, and they have I think they said an 8K screen or something, I forget, you know, real high resolution screen, that the back of the ship from the inside becomes a full screen, the full wall of the back of the ship. And then the floor has all kinds of pedestals that raise. And yeah, I mean,
cool.
The whole theater is interactive for the productions, and it really makes for some very good shows in there. And yeah, enjoyed that a lot. I think everybody did. Pro tip though, the shows in 270 you need reservations.
Right.
So if you're getting on a Quantum class ship like Ovation, Odyssey, Quantum, you know, any of those, you want to make sure you make your reservations for the 270 shows. Because they do fill up quickly, and you want to, even if you have reservations, you want to get there early, because some of the best seats are, I mean, you're sitting right there practically at the floor. This isn't like a regular theater, and so you want to get some good center seats kind of low to the floor, and that works really well. So that evening, we sailed away from Yokohama, and the actual main headliner show was a ventriloquist. We went to him. I like ventriloquists. They're fun, you know, and he was pretty good, so we enjoyed that. We watched the sail away, but the next day, we are making our first of 2 port stops, 2 big ones, in Shimizu, Japan.
Now, Shimizu, Japan is where the cruise ship will dock the closest to Mount Fuji that it can get. Now, while we were on the World Cruise, we did go to Mount Fuji. So if this is your stop, friends, and you haven't seen Mount Fuji, you want to get off and make your destination to be Mount Fuji. Anyway, Shimizu, they were having a big event, and they were having it for us because Ovation of the Seas was the largest cruise ship that had ever docked there in Shimizu. And so they were having a big festival. They had a whole schedule of entertainment that we were able to find online, and where they had vendors that came in, they had crafts, they had food, they had shows, they had a stage, and they had shows like every hour. And so we got off the ship and we stayed in that festival area that was just within walking distance of the ship, and we watched a couple of the shows. Now, the first show that I got to see, I thought was really cool, was this calligrapher. Now, she's not just any calligrapher that's doing calligraphy on paper. she had a huge canvas that she was painting on. Her calligraphy brush was really almost like a mop. It was that big, and the paint was in buckets. So she would dip the big mop brush into the paint, and she would dance around to the music, and she would make her picture on this huge canvas, and it's a picture of Mount Fuji and welcoming us to Japan, and it was really cool. That I enjoyed that. As I'm learning watercolor, I enjoyed that a lot. That was a neat thing for me to see.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. She was so talented, and it's one of those things where you're watching, you're not sure where this is going, right? Because some of it's just big swoops and marks on the page, and all of a sudden it starts to form and come together, and you see, oh, that's Mount Fuji. Oh, that says welcome. And yeah, she was absolutely excellent. But we stayed after that one, and we actually watched a local kendo a group came and gave a kendo demonstration. And so this is where they do sword practice, and it's kind of forms. And to me, I think it's a combination of sword fighting and Tai Chi, right? So they do these very specific forms, and the kendo swords are made from bamboo. And so they did I'll call it a fighting demonstration, but it was really forms demonstrations. They were really good, and I enjoyed that a lot too.
Good. Well, we had a light sushi snack while we were off the ship, but then we got back on board and we had a nice leisurely lunch out in the back of the ship, and we could see Mount Fuji kind of peeking out through the clouds.
Yeah, it was really nice. Well, we sailed away from Shimizu and we're headed over to Osaka. So we have a sea day in between, and then we get to overnight in Osaka, and we're just super excited about that. And as we mentioned earlier in the video, go ahead and watch for our next video. That's going to be a full video on our 2 days in Osaka, the food, the sights, the World Expo in Osaka. It was just incredible. So be sure to watch for that. But Nancy, how are they going to make sure they don't miss that video?
Well, friends, did you know if you turn on your notifications, you will be notified when our next video releases. But if you've been enjoying this video so far, please be sure to reach down there, hit that like button. If you haven't yet subscribed, we hope that you will. It helps YouTube show our videos to those who may not have met us yet. So thank you. We appreciate you.
Yeah, and subscribing, just to be clear, doesn't cost you anything.
Correct.
It doesn't cause you to get any spam, email, or phone calls or anything. All it does is let YouTube know that, hey, we kind of like this content, and it makes a huge difference for us as we're on our way to our first 100,000 subscribers.
That's right.
So we're hoping that you'll go ahead and give us that subscribe as well. Well, after Osaka, we went ahead and we were going to start getting ready to go on this 13 days crossing in the middle of the Pacific. But things didn't exactly, here again, go without some bumps in the road. And during that 2 days in Osaka, we actually had 5 medical evacuations.
We did. The ambulance was coming to the cruise ship port quite a number of times, and that would, I hate to see anybody have to get evacuated off, but that wasn't all. That wasn't the only medical evacuation.
Right. So after those 5, and by the way, just to let you know, Royal was being extremely careful with this.
Yes.
If anybody was having any issues, because we literally are going to be in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. There are times where our ship may be at least 2 days sailing, if not more, away from land. And so if you're having a real medical issue, they can't send a helicopter 2 days to sea.
Right.
We can't get to shore. So they want to make sure everyone is going to be able to make this crossing and arrive healthy and happy.
Exactly.
And so that's why the 5 people, families, got off in Osaka, off the ship, and our prayers are with them. But as Nancy said, we took off from Osaka. We started heading out to sea, and we go to bed that night. We get up the next morning, and actually it was quite a nice morning. We're looking out, and I kind of look off our balcony and go, why are we turning around?
We're going the wrong way.
We can see the ship starting to make a curve, and we can see the trail of the ship, and like, okay, something is bad.
Yeah.
And we checked around, and sure enough, we were heading back to Tokyo Bay. So we were going from Osaka and heading back to Tokyo Bay, and they had to do another medical evacuation, and this time by helicopter.
Yeah, this time by helicopter. And And it was windy too, so they had shut down all of the upper decks. They shut down the front of the ship where the helicopter would land. So, we could see the helicopter coming in to make passes. And then they did get the person off the ship, and so our prayers are with them. We hope they're okay. But a helicopter evacuation would be a horrible way to get evacuated off a ship. First off, it'd be extremely scary, but then it's you just being evacuated. Your family is still on the ship, and I don't know who this was. I don't know what their emergency was or anything like that. Like I said, I hope they're okay. But the family's still staying on the ship and has to wait until they got clear to Los Angeles before they could even
fly back to Tokyo
to get their family members. So, that was not very pleasant for that family, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, our prayers are with them.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the helicopter evacuation did go well. They got the person off, as Nancy said, and then we turned back around out of Tokyo Bay. And now we're actually heading out on our 13-day trip across the Pacific. And the captain did come on and say that even though we went back, we lost some time there. There was enough, slack in the schedule that effectively we were still going to arrive in Los Angeles on time. And after 13 days, they can make up some time.
Well, let's talk about our 13 days at sea here. Mike, why don't you let them know how they handled the time changes on the ship?
Yeah, we get that question a lot. We've seen comments and things, especially on the Ultimate World Cruise. How are you handling time zone changes? It's fairly simple, but it happens a lot because, we're crossing all the way, we're going to cross the international date line and everything. So on this case, we're actually moving west to east. Now, on the Ultimate World Cruise, we moved east to west, and you do time changes actually different. We didn't realize this. So the first time we got a notification, and how they do that, they stick a little card in your door. So when you get to your cabin, there's a little card in there and says, we're traveling forward in time, and it says at 2 p.m., move your clock ahead 1 hour. So 2 p.m. immediately becomes 3 p.m. So day after day after day, as we're going through all these time zones, we were actually losing 1 hour. We were having 23-hour days. So we're having shorter days. And then eventually we crossed the international date line, and we even got a certificate. So like this one is Nancy's for crossing the international date line aboard Ovation. So they gave us each one of these, which was nice. And when we cross the international date line, we don't just move our clock ahead 1 hour. We move it ahead. We leave the time the same, but then we actually move the day back a day. So then we gain an entire day. So we're losing all these hours, and then we gain an entire day. So because we move it back. So that's kind of a weird day. We ended up with 2 days. I think it was like a weird. Wasn't it? If I remember right, it was somebody's birthday, and so they celebrated it the first day, and then they had that same day 2 days in a row, and so it's really interesting when you're doing that. Now, why do they do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? When we were on the Ultimate World Cruise, we did all our time changes at midnight or 2 in the morning or something. That's when they changed the ship time, and we assumed it would be the same way going west to east. Well, the reason they don't is because you're losing an hour, whereas if you're going east to west, you're gaining an hour each day. Each of your days are 25 hours. Right. Well, it's much harder on the crew to change in the middle of the night because they're losing an hour's sleep then. They go to bed, they lose an hour, and they have to get up an hour earlier with an hour less sleep.
Day after day after day.
Day after day. Whereas if you're going east to west, they're actually gaining an hour of sleep. So it's great for the crew. They get an extra, hour to sleep in when you do it that way. So that made perfect sense. So that's why they do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because then actually the crew is losing an hour of work. And so they actually get a slightly easier day because there's one less hour. Now, that's one less hour to get all their jobs done and everything else they're doing, but they're not losing an hour of sleep at night. So anyway, that's how time changes work on a long transatlantic or trans-Pacific cruise, depending on which direction you're going.
Well, Mike, with 13 sea days, what is there to do on this ship?
Well, I think before we talk about what there is to do, I think we need to talk about the sea conditions and kind of what it's
Sure.
like crossing the Pacific, because it was a surprise to me. I don't know. I had this vision. I mean, we were in Japan in May, and it was quite beautiful. We had some wonderful. It was actually quite hot many days, and we get out to sea. We're one day out from sea, and everything's fogged in. And it's honestly, I don't want to say cold. I mean, it's not like Antarctica, but it's chilly out.
It was chilly.
And it's kind of windy. And, we went and looked out our balcony and we couldn't see 20 yards off the, side of the ship.
Yeah.
So that really did surprise me. So it really limited what we could do on the outside of the ship. But fortunately, this is a quantum class ship, and this ship and its sister ships, Odyssey and Quantum of the Seas and Anthem of the Seas, they really are designed for cold weather. I think of them as the next generation of the Radiance class ships. Now, a Radiance class ship, Serenade, was what we went all the way around the world in, and it was a great ship to do that. And the Quantum is just a ship that's twice as big with even more. So it has an indoor solarium for the adults, which has multiple hot tubs, heated pool. It has a full indoor general pool that everybody can use. And of course, it has the outdoor pool as well, which really we could only use a couple times during this trip. And then in the back of the ship, it has this thing called the Seaplex, which is this huge, almost think of it like a gymnasium, right? It's this multi-purpose, massive room that they can do everything from pickleball to riding bumper cars, which we did. We had a really good time riding the bumper cars. So this ship is really designed for a lot of indoor activities. And so that's, I think, what we focused most of our time was the indoor activities. Why don't you tell them a few of the things that we did?
Right. Well, as with any cruise that you're on, they're going to have trivia and lots of trivia, which we did do some of that. In fact, we did join the progressive trivia. That's kind of a commitment because that's every sea day, and you have to be there on time. And boy, they're very particular about that. We ended up coming in 9th place on progressive
but
trivia.
the day before we were in like 4th place, and we missed a couple on the last day, and that dropped us down to 9th. But honestly, we had a great time, and the team that won, wow, this guy was good.
Yes,
I mean, they were so far ahead of everyone else, and
he should be on Jeopardy.
Yeah, he was really, really good. So, but it was a lot of fun just getting together every day and laughing. And Hannah Banana, the activities person, she was really good at the trivia and made it a lot of fun. So.
Other things that we did, this was something that was interesting. We certainly enjoyed is they had a priest on board. And so for every sea day, he did daily mass in the morning. And so we would go to that. And I thought that was very special to have that on board the ship.
Yeah, and on the Sundays, he did a main service in the theater, and then he also did a non-denominational kind of service too, a Bible service.
Right, right. And so, he was good, and he would hear confessions every day too. So, but moving on along from that, they had like origami. They had some great. Oh yeah, let me show you. This is a fun one. So they have cruise ship dollars. And then we had dollar origami, and it was folded into a sweet little heart.
And this is the one I actually used a real dollar for this one here. You can see it. I don't know if it'll focus on it or not, but yeah. So I'm not an expert. It took me a few tries to get it right, but there's little activities like that.
And kind of on a personal note here, we would listen to audiobooks. I brought my watercolor along, and so I would do some watercolor in the afternoons. If the weather was nice, I'd go out on the balcony and do some out there. You would work on videos, on editing these YouTube videos. So you would do that some in the afternoons. We had a great group of friends, and so we just spent a lot of time chitter-chatting with them and just enjoying their company and having a drink. And they had some great royal entertainers. For instance, they had Darla at the pub. We would go and listen to her almost every day. She sounds just like Dolly Parton. She should be on The Voice or American Idol, one of those shows, because she was that good.
Yeah, she really was. In fact, I think she had 1,300 songs that she could do out of her repertoire.
Certainly an incredible number.
She was, and the funny thing is she could sing everything from country to rap to, hard rock and heavy metal and all with her guitar. She made it work, and she was had the best personality, and she was fun, and so no.
She was the whole package, but I just really enjoyed her voice. It was just so good.
Yeah. Royal Caribbean, if anybody's watching from this, Darla, like 4 thumbs up for her.
That's right.
She was really good. We enjoyed her a lot.
We would also spend just a lot of time walking around. We'd spend time in the gym, as well as they would have exercise classes there in 270. They'd have kind of dance classes, stretch classes in there. And so that was a fun place to go to exercise.
Yeah, we always tried to get a few miles in. We always try to get our 11,000, 12,000 steps in.
That's right.
And just making loops on the ship. And if the weather was bad, which it was in many times, you can actually do that inside the ship. So we'd walk the promenade, go up a level, walk around, come back, So it's a big enough ship that even if the weather is inclement, you can still walk inside the ship and get your walking in. And that's really important on these sea days, to get to the gym, to keep your body moving. Because it is too easy to just go to the solarium and pull up a chair and just sit all day,
and
right?
Relax.
Yeah, but we did pretty good there. And I really liked watching you in the 270 when you'd go in and jump in on one of those exercise classes.
Well, one day, some of our friends wanted to do the iFly, which is the indoor skydiving that they have there. Now, you do have to go outside to get to the iFly, where you go back inside. That's something we have done in the past, and so we didn't do it. We were their photographers for them, but that was fun to watch our friends have that skydiving experience.
Yeah, we actually had 2 couples do it. We got Mark and Terry, which you're seeing some of that video here. They just had a ball doing it. Well, guys, what's your first impression?
That was a ball.
You guys did great. You guys did great.
It was fun.
And then Roy and Leslie's from Point My Soul North. The weather was actually so bad at the time they did it, they didn't allow us to come and stand outside the iFly. They just escorted them into it and then right back out kind of the sheltered area at the time they were doing it. So again, it kind of gives you an example that a trans-Pacific cruise sounds like, oh, it's the Pacific, it's so beautiful. The weather wasn't great.
I think some royal staff took pictures for them, so they at least got a picture.
Yeah, they got some pictures on their phone, but we were not the photographers for Leslie this time. Well, we also had to do some boring things like laundry.
Thankfully, Royal did it for me.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do it. No, they didn't have laundry rooms on the ship, but being Diamond Plus members, we get 2 bags per cruise, and so we would kind of divide our clothes up and get that done.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it here, us doing the laundry.
Yeah. So now let's talk about the food on the ship, because there's
food?
Plenty of food.
I didn't notice any food on the ship.
We would typically focus our main meal as being the evening meal, but we would get up in the morning, we'd have coffee, maybe a light breakfast. I know sometimes I'd go to the Solarium Bistro and have breakfast. It's nice there, friends, because it's a little quieter than the Windjammer. The Windjammer's the big buffet, and you're going to get so many of the same items there at the Solarium Bistro, and that's just a nice, quiet atmosphere to have
for
breakfast.
You always like basically a boiled egg and maybe a little salmon or something, and for breakfast is the most you have. I usually just have coffee and skip it, but and then what about lunch?
And then lunch, we would go to the Windjammer, or we did Jamie's one time for lunch, which was really good. We did the Taste of Royal for lunch one day with our friends, and so that was also quite good.
And I think twice we tried the brunch. They had a brunch.
We did.
In the main dining, in one of the main dining rooms.
Well, on a long cruise, though, we like to mix it up a little bit, and we do like to go to the specialty restaurants. And Izumi's with the sushi is one of my absolute favorites. We went to Chops a couple of times. Jamie's Italian, which we loved.
Yeah, I would say that was my favorite.
I thought that was so good. I think we went there 3 different times.
Well, and I think you can tell how good it is because at least twice we were there, the captain was eating in there for dinner. And we saw the cruise director eating there with his staff. We were always seeing the officer staff that they can eat in some of these restaurants eating at Jamie's Italian. So I think they know which one's the best too. Yeah.
Now they also have Wonderland there, and if you haven't been to Wonderland, that's kind of based on Alice in Wonderland, and that is just, it's so whimsical and fun. It's where you go in and your menu is presented like in a picture frame, but you don't see the words, and you're given a paintbrush and water, and when you paint over the paper, the menu magically appears, and it just, but all the food is presented in just such a fun way for everything. I just loved it.
Yeah. Well, a couple of tips here. Wonderland to start with. It really is much more enjoyable if you go with a large group.
Oh, for sure.
This is our third time eating at a Wonderland. The first time we ate with our whole family and we had a ball. And the second time it was just the two of us. And it was good, but it wasn't the same experience.
Yeah, excuse me for interrupting. That was on previous ships. That wasn't on
Yes.
this cruise.
Yeah. And then this cruise we went with our group of 8 friends. And again, we had a ball. And I think the biggest difference is there's so many interesting things on the Wonderland menu that when you're in a large group, they just bring them all. So you get to experience everything. And the waiter gets into it and it's really there. When you go as a couple, it's like, oh, well, what entree would you like? You really can't try and see all the fantasy items that they have on their menu. So just a pro tip, if you go to a Wonderland on a Royal Caribbean ship, try to go with a group. I think it's a lot more fun.
Well, in addition to those nice restaurants, there are plenty of places to get food on the cruise ship. There's 270 and the Park Cafe and pizza. There's a lot of little venues where you can get food. But I know you're all waiting for it because they have what's called the dog house, which that means we had a hot dog challenge.
We did. So cut to that beautiful bean footage.
Seaplex, the doghouse dog. You have these on the larger Royal Caribbean ships. They have a variety of anywhere from 4 to 6 types of hot dogs. So I went with the beef and pork one. They do actually bake their buns, and went with just the onions and the mustard. They went out of sauerkraut. Let's give it a try here. It's good, but the bun to hot dog ratio is
Too much bun?
way too much bun for the size of hot dog.
How's the hot dog itself?
It's because the ratio's off, it's a little hard to tell. I'm gonna give it a little try here. Hot dog itself's actually really good. It's meaty, chewy, it's got, but there's so much bun that it kind of hides the dog. But it's good, and if you're on a Royal Caribbean ship, don't miss the dog house to give a good hot dog a try.
So yes, the dog house. I would say overall, if you're craving a hot dog, it's a good hot dog. It's certainly not one of the world's best. It's not going to be right up there with a Korean corn dog or the, Argentinian choapan or something, from our hot dog challenges. But you know what? It's not a bad hot dog. If the worst thing I can say is too much bun, and a fresh baked bun at that, not a bad hot dog. You had it as well.
I thought it was good. I actually like the buns in the Windjammer better, so I think it's the same hot dog that you get there. And so I would just as soon have it in the Windjammer.
Yeah, in the Windjammer, they actually just have a traditional, like commercial baked bun, the regular style, not the custom buns they have here, which is much smaller.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's nice, it's there in the Seaplex area. So if you're there doing sports or other activities and you don't want to go to the Windjammer, you've got a bite to eat right there, which is handy.
Yep.
And then, of course, in the evening, they always have a headline show. And for 13 days, they did not repeat the headliners. They had 13 different acts on board, which I thought was really good. So you've got, your magicians, your comedians, your ventriloquists, your acrobats.
The acrobats were really good.
They were singers, so bands, just a nice variety of acts.
Yeah, I would agree. And also all over the ship there's entertainment. So we already mentioned Darla. I'll mention her again because she was so awesome. We'd go to the pub all the time and watch her. But they also have the music hall, which they'd have a ship's band in there. Now the music hall on a Quantum class ship is a custom designed concert hall with great acoustics. It's 2 levels. They've got a bar in there. On the upper level, they even have pool tables and another bar and things like that. So they do a lot of stuff concert-wise or music-wise in the music hall. So there's always something going on in there. No, there is no lack, especially in the evenings, of any kind of entertainment around the ship that you can go see.
That's right. Now, a couple of other things that we didn't really do, but we'll mention here just briefly, is they do have the bionic bar where the bionic robotic arm will mix your drink and make it for you. And of course, they've got a casino, which we really didn't spend time in.
Yeah, the casino's actually fairly large, and they have a large no smoking section now in the casino. So they're starting to listen, I think, and in fact they started with a small no smoking and a large smoking. Now they're actually kind of shifting, and the non-smoking area of the casino is becoming larger. So, and the casino goes right out from the music hall. Yeah, I think that overall, you are, as long as you're making a little bit of an effort, you're not going to be bored on a ship like
and
this.
There's also plenty of shops there as well. So you could always go through and see what they had, in the center aisles on sale, and plenty to do for sure.
Well, in fact, that whole centrum area, well, it's not a centrum, the promenade, excuse me. This is much more like a small promenade you'll see on an Freedom class or a Voyager class or an Oasis class, that they've got this big mall, 2-story shopping area down the middle of the ship. And they do have restaurants, like that's where Izumi is, and the pizza place is there, and the pub is there. But yeah, some different shops, and their coffee shops are there. So you can always wander around in there. And they also have special events in there. So like they would do balloon drops as we were coming into the United States, or big parties. If they're going to have a big white party or something, they're going to hold that in the main promenade with the band and all that playing in there. Again, tons of stuff to do. So no, as long as you come out of your shell a little bit, or you do make a little bit of effort, you're not going to be bored.
Absolutely. With all of that, not only did we have just our group of 8 friends from the World Cruise, we bumped into there was a total of 14 of us from the World Cruise. So there were other passengers we weren't even expecting. And so that was a nice treat to see them. Some of the crew were even from the World Cruise. So like I said, we became family over the past 9 months. So we can't help but talk about that experience in these videos here, because they just meant so much to us. But we also met some of our viewers here.
Yes, we did. So Scotty, who we actually also met on the Ultimate World Cruise. So he was on this too. We bumped into him. So hi, Scotty. And your son, just the cutest kid. I love him. And we also ran into Beverly and Doug from Tampa. So hi to you guys. We ran into Raymond and Pauline from Toronto, and also Miriam and Dwayne from Ohio. And by the way, thanks for the little Buckeye candies and the wine. Yeah, you brought us. I mean, oh my gosh, you guys were so nice. And we just appreciate every time one of our Phase 2 flock waves us down and says hi.
Pull us aside.
Yeah, it is absolutely fine. And I mean, if we're in the middle of running to something, we'll let you know. Forgive us if we're moving along. Most of the time we're not, though. If you come and wave at us and say hi, we watch your channel, we absolutely love that.
It means the world to us.
Yeah, I think it's funny when we're sitting having a drink and we look over and we see somebody going like this, we'll usually wave, and don't be shy. If you're one of our Phase 2 flock, just come over and say, oh, hi, are you Mike and Nancy? And we love to say hello to you too. Plus we love watching our friends get embarrassed too. No, they're used to it, and they're into it too. So, but hello to all of our Phase 2 flock out there. And if you're not a member of our Phase 2 flock, doesn't cost you anything. All you got to reach down and hit the subscribe button, right?
Thanks, friends. We appreciate so much you being here with us and following along on our journey.
Well, that's how we spend our days, our nights. That's our food. That's our cabin. That's all the things, the issues we had. That was this cruise. But so now reflecting on it and thinking back overall, Nancy, I mean, did you like it? What were your thoughts?
I loved it. I loved it. It was a great cruise. Now, again, I really am someone who enjoys the sea days. So I thought this was a very special cruise. I loved the ship too. I love that it was just a little bigger. Personally, I like the bigger ships. I haven't been on any of the Icon ships, but we've been on several of the Oasis class ships, and I just think they're fabulous with their Central Park and their boardwalk and different things that has to offer. So I typically like the bigger ships even more. But yeah, for me, it was a great cruise. What about you?
Yeah, I think of this cruise almost like an all-inclusive vacation.
It was.
So we've been to the Dominican Republic and places, where you have all-inclusives. And pretty much we have a routine. We get up, have breakfast, sit on the beach, have lunch, sit at the pool, have dinner, have a drink, go to bed.
Try to exercise a little bit.
And that's an all-inclusive. And that is a true vacation. So like we said over and over, if you see some of our Ultimate World Cruise videos, that wasn't a vacation, that was an adventure. That's adventure travel. And there were times it was port. It was get up in the morning at 6 a.m., go and tour all day till 6 o'clock at night, get back on, have dinner, go to bed, try to get some rest, and get up the next day. And this is the opposite of that. This is relax, read a book, go for a swim, enjoy time with friends and have a drink, So yeah, I like both types. I will say, when we were on Odyssey of the Seas, the Quantum Ultra sister ship for this, it was right after COVID, and it was the first time the ship was over 100% full. We made a mistake of booking it during spring break. And to be honest, at that time, I didn't like the ship. We did a 7-day cruise in the Caribbean on Odyssey. And I don't know, it didn't click with me at that time, Odyssey. This time, I think I spent enough time on Ovation that it did. I kind of agree with you. I still have a really soft spot in my heart for Serenade. I always will. That's our home. It was our home for 9 months. And we're getting on her again here in a couple weeks to go on the reunion cruise as we're filming this. But overall, it grew on me, right? Now, I will say, if you're going to compare a Radiance class to this one, because they both are cold weather ships. They have indoor solariums. They have lots of indoor spaces. The Serenade or the Radiance class has more glass.
Okay.
So you don't see out on a Quantum class. You feel kind of enclosed. The schooner bar on a Radiance class ship like Serenade is the best in the fleet. I will put that schooner bar up against any other schooner bar. The wood and how it's laid out, and it's really large, and you got windows all the way along one side, and best schooner bar anywhere.
Okay.
The Quantum class, though, I think it starts to excel because it has a basic promenade, not as big as, like you mentioned, an Oasis or Freedom class. I think if you had to ask me which I would pick, I think it would be it depends. I think for a Trans-Pacific like this, where you're just long sea days all the time, I would pick a Quantum class ship. I think for a world cruise or real travel, I would pick a Radiance class ship because it can get into places that these ships can't.
Sure.
Much smaller ship. So overall, I'm not saying it's better or worse. It just depends on what you're using it for, right?
Okay.
And in this one, I think a Trans-Pacific, especially with bad weather all the time, I thought the ship was perfect and enjoyed it a lot.
Great.
Well, Nancy, were you happy with this? Would you do this cruise again? Would you do one like this again?
Hands down. Yeah, I loved it. Like I told you, I like those sea days. I like the all-inclusive resort kind of feel. I like cruising. So I like visiting ports too, of course. Don't get me wrong, but this was a great vacation. Yeah,
I would agree with you. I think I'm kind of hooked on repositioning cruises. I know they go from like Barcelona to the U.S. and Southampton to the U.S. and of course, the Far East or even Australia to the U.S. And the neat thing about them is most of the time the repositioning cruises are very affordable. The biggest thing you're going to pay is probably airfare. So, if you get a repositioning cruise going from LA to Australia as an example, well, eventually you got to take a flight from Australia back to the US, and that's not cheap. But gosh, I've seen repositioning cruises to Australia for less than $1,000 a person. I was stunned at those costs, for maybe like an inside cabin, but yeah. So I think I'm sold on the repositioning cruise too.
Them.
Yeah. Well, we had some issues we mentioned as we first got on. Were you happy with Royal's response? Any issues there?
I was very happy. I felt like Royal did everything that they could, and honestly, us getting the 10% back, well, that was the cherry on top.
Yeah, if you think of something like ants in a room, the ship and the crew didn't put ants in the room, right? This is a ship, right? So obviously a passenger before us brought something on board, probably a beach bag, something of that nature, and it had some sugar ants in it. They probably had food in it.
Yeah.
And then they threw it under the bed for a couple days. And, so this isn't something Royal did, there was a lack of something, because you can vacuum and clean the room really well. And that can still happen. I think I was pleased too with the fact that we told them about it, and each time we told them a couple of times there, they were there, within 30 minutes.
Right.
So I would say overall, they fixed the shower within an hour. All of that. So I would say yes. From that standpoint, the best thing you can do is just follow the process, right? There's a button on your phone that says maintenance. Call them up and they come immediately to fix it. So, well, Nance, what tips, pointers, hints, hacks, whatever, do you have for people that are going to do a repositioning or a long cruise with many sea days like this?
Oh gosh, well, you need to watch your packing. You need to have clothes that will kind of work in multiple situations, but you need to prepare for clothes that are a little warmer, because the weather can be cooler than what you might expect. But just bring a lot of things that you can mix and match along. Since it's a longer cruise, you're gonna have to pack a little more in the way of clothing.
Or do laundry like we did.
Or do laundry, yeah.
Yeah. I would say that's true. I would also make sure you bring some entertainment items for yourself. Bring some decks of cards. If you like something like 5 Crowns, or I don't know, Phase 10. I think we played that one time. So bring some books or a Kindle. Bring audiobooks on your phone. Have some things to help entertain yourself as well.
Sure.
I think that's really good. I would like to just occasionally sit in a lounge chair and, like you said, listen to an audiobook, or we'd grab some friends and play a card game or something. So kind of be prepared with some of your own entertainment on a cruise like this as well.
And I think the third thing that we need to mention here is to get your activity in. I'm such an advocate for exercise, and that's such an important thing to do. And I think on a repositioning cruise, it could be very easy to get yourself set up in the solarium where it's nice and cozy and you've got a comfortable chair, and spend the day there and just eating. And it's very easy to eat and drink, and that's one thing to do it on a 7-day cruise. But when we're on a 17-day cruise, that can be a little bit much. So you've got to take care of your health too. So keep your body moving.
Yeah, I would agree. And not just the moving, but also really watch what you're eating, because you're talking about half a month here, or more actually, like Nancy said. And so you really get in your mindset before you get on the cruise how you're going to manage your meals, right? So like we said, I would have a cup of coffee in the morning, do some basic intermittent fasting, maybe have lunch, or maybe if I did, it was a very light lunch, and then focus on dinner. Now, technically it's more healthy to eat a bigger meal at lunch, but that's not how cruises work. Watch the alcohol consumption. Again, if you're on a 7-day cruise, party, but once you get to 10, 13, 17, there's 20 some night cruises on these repositioning cruises. Just try to take care of your health, because you'll feel a lot better when you get off.
Exactly.
Well, those are our hints, tips. We loved this one. We hoped you enjoyed coming along with us and seeing what a 17-night repositioning cruise with 14 total sea days was like. And as we said, we enjoyed it. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I think we've mentioned it, but hit the subscribe button. We're on our way to our first 100,000 subscribers. So if you could hit that and help us along the way, that would sure be appreciated. And be sure to come along with us in the next video, where we're going to show you all the sights, sounds, tastes, and the experience that is Osaka and the Osaka World Expo. So that's our next video.
So that was so much fun. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you very soon, friends. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.